affecting memorability. So what influences what pops up first? Okay, and obviously this is important to marketers because when we say refreshment, soda, a drink, okay, clothing, brands, coat, right? They want their brand to pop up. They want them to think of you, right? Say fast food restaurant, oh, McDonald's, okay, all right, and so forth. So, so this is a 15-minute video that we're going to watch. If the quality isn't very good, and I apologize, but I am recording this at OBS, which is a pretty good recording program. I'll also post a link so you can watch it, but it's a really good video.
Isn't AI?
I invited 2 members of MBA, an advertising agency, to a secret location to propose an unusual task. Those who work in advertising are masters of persuasion. They subtly weave their images and slogans into our daily lives, knowing that we will register so much unconsciously. And then we walk into a supermarket and feel a sense of familiarity with a product we think we've never heard of. Millions of pounds a year are spent on it. It's brilliantly calculated, and we all fall for it. So I thought I'd turn the tables on the advertising experts. Thank you for joining us, gentlemen. Tony, yes?
Yes, that's right.
And Martin?
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Darren. Let me get down to explaining exactly what I want you to do. Imagine that I'm opening a chain of stores selling a product, something I have a particular interest in. Your task is to come up with a poster advertising that store. And that poster must include the company name, whatever you decide that may be. It must include a strap line, some sort of slogan, and some kind of logo as well, some kind of visual image. Now the idea is you've only got half an hour to do this, so you've got to really work with your first instinct. So at the moment, you've got no idea what you're going to do, correct?
Yeah.
Excellent. I'm also going to give you this. I've had a few design ideas of my own.
Okay.
I want to leave this untouched. We'll come back to that later. All right? Are there any questions?
What's the product?
What's the product? Very good question. Passion of mine since I was a toddler. It's a chain of taxidermy stores.
Ooh.
Let me pop the pussycat on the envelope so it remains untouched. You have half an hour, gentlemen. Good luck.
Yeah, thanks. Right, let's go for it. Get stuffed as a start. Animal Hospital. Yeah, the ones who didn't make it. Well, that's probably just stupid. The wings. Well, Creature's great and small. Quality that says like nice, positive type animals. Animal Heaven. Where animals go.
Animal Heaven, that's good.
Graveyard.
Animal Heaven's
Animal Heaven.
Where the best animals go to.
Loads of clouds with animals on them.
Yeah,
Gates,
harps,
pearly gates, bear playing the harp.
Yeah. Only the best
Zoo.
get in. Only the best get into where.
Yeah. Where dead animals go to live. Where the best.
It's the best place for dead animals. It's simple.
Time up, gentlemen.
Okay.
I can't wait to see what you've done. Come and show me.
Okay.
And Tony, before we do this, can you take the envelope I gave you earlier?
Okay.
And can you please vouch for us here that no one's been anywhere near it? It's been under a dead cat. No one's touched it.
That's right.
That's the truth.
That's
That's the
correct.
truth.
Keep hold of it. Come around here. Now, before we have a look at it, just tell me, what was it like?
We started off thinking about the name. I thought that was we thought that was probably the best thing to
the
do.
starting point.
Sure.
And then take it from there. Really, we banged out a load of ones that were probably completely stupid, and then got down to the ones that were slightly stupid, and then we kind of that went back and forth for a bit, and then kind of got something we liked and developed it.
Can I have a look?
Sure.
Sure.
Is this it?
Yeah.
That's fantastic. it's a bear with a lyre.
So it's Animal Heaven, the best place for dead animals.
And it's obviously you'd see that it was stuffed.
How did you come up with the name Animal Heaven?
We had the idea of the pearly gates of heaven being the zoo gates.
Zoo gates as the gates of heaven. That's interesting.
i.e. sort of all the animals that are dead are in a dead zoo, if you like, in heaven. And then we just kind of thought, well, it's kind of nice, but it's a bit twee. We wanted to make it a bit funkier. And then we thought a hard-playing bear just answered the brief.
It's fantastic. I do want to show you my own ideas from beforehand.
Okay.
I don't want to touch. Would you open them for me?
Sure.
And the winner is...
I think you'll find this interesting.
Okay.
Look at the envelope.
Yeah. Okay.
Sorry. All right. Not a million miles away. Let me put this up there. Hang on to that.
Yeah.
It's a harp-playing bear.
Yeah.
God.
You've gone for these angel wings here. Were you thinking of angel wings or bird wings?
Yeah, well, they were kind of a combination.
You do them a lot better than me. This was the same thing. I was thinking angel wings there. You've got animal heaven. I got creature heaven.
Yeah. So
Where the best...
you're a bit off there then.
A bit off there. Where the best dead animals go. Did you put best place for dead animals?
Wow.
Very similar. I had the idea of a zoo gate on there.
It was hard to
We
leave out.
didn't want to overload
It
it.
was hard to leave out, but
Sure.
it was just a bit too much.
Can I see your other, the other one you were talking
Yeah,
about?
put
Is
it
it-
down. Yeah, it's just before there.
Is it very different?
Well,
Well, it's just the gates.
yeah.
Oh, gentlemen, please.
I'm drawing quite similar.
Look at that. This was the image I was thinking. I've done it there in the background because this to me was the more striking image. And interestingly, you abandoned this for this one. This was
Yeah.
obviously
Well,
clear.
the first bear I drew looks exactly like that one, actually.
It did, yeah.
The first bear you drew.
Yeah,
Picture on the
shall I
pad,
show
yeah.
you on the notes?
Show me.
like that,
Show me.
yeah.
What have you got?
Well, this is scary, really. But,
Oh, look at that.
Yeah.
Look at that. You've got the cloud, you've got the blue. If you knew the amount of effort we've gone into making this work, you'd be absolutely flabbergasted. But for now, it's comforting to know that you're just as susceptible to subliminal persuasion as the rest of us. Thank you very much for helping us out. Tony,
Thank you.
Martin.
Pleasure.
Take care. Thank you very
Thanks.
much indeed.
Bye-bye.
I think I'm quite cynical, and when I saw the bear and I saw a cloud first of all from behind the paper, I thought, hang on, he's close here. And then when we saw the rest of it, I couldn't believe it.
I immediately thought, oh, I'm gutted. I could see that it was folded, and I just saw the bear's foot hanging over the cloud with the harp.
Yeah.
And I just thought, I can't believe it.
Yeah.
You know, it was
And
gutted.
how embarrassing.
But now I think, oh, fantastic. You know, I'm over the moon.
I mean, yeah. I mean, obviously we're pleased for him,
Yeah,
So, you know,
yeah he's
as long as if he comes out of this looking good, then that's that's always the main thing.
To see how we did it, watch their taxi journey again.
Put a spell on you. Cause you're mine. You better stop the things you do. I ain't lying. No, I ain't lying.
So, pretty amazing. Pretty amazing, right? So, what happened? Well, it's called priming. So, what it means is, it kind of comes from priming the pump. You have to get it ready to pump water, and so forth. But you can activate, other associations, or at least not quite up to where they pop into people's consciousness. They weren't really aware of everything they saw there, okay? But they're closer to the surface of that, liquid, as I talked about, okay? And so they really don't need much more, energy to pop up, all right? They're almost ready right there. So as soon as any type of association, comes close to that, then boy, they're going to pop up in your, consciousness, and you'll be aware of them. It's used somewhat in marketing, right? Well, you put a billboard, for a food or a cleaning item or whatever be in a grocery store, and then you walk into the grocery store and, you more likely to pick out that brand because it's almost activated, right? So it's, saying the power of suggestion really works. Yeah, you do it subtly, so the person, doesn't, shove it down their throat. But if you've primed other certain ideas and everything, then those are more likely to pop up, right? Ads and notifications on your phone you don't really pay attention to, they do potentially prime those concepts so that if you are in a situation where they're relevant, they're going to pop up before other ones. Even the ones, you might like other things more, but they may have a stronger association if everybody started from the same place, but these other ones pop up. So priming is one way. So before you anticipate people being in a position where they're going to view or see, sense your brand, your concepts, you somehow try to get them activated ahead of time, so they're aware of them. And then even though they're not in their active, in their consciousness, they're right below the surface, so they're easily activated and become important to them. Okay, so the question is, why do we know the words to songs we hate? All right, why do we become our parents in terms of our mannerisms and vocabulary? All right, and so I remember one time, I was the father, and I got mad at one of my kids, probably the oldest. He was that type of kid, and I said, Jesus H. Christ. And afterwards, I was all over with. I realized, oh my God, I never say that. And I said it. And I said it because it's something my father used to say all the time. We become our parents. And there's the funny ad. I'm having a little hard time remembering the company. All right. But where, people, buy homes and they start to act like their parents. All right. But we know the words to songs we hate, all right, because we hear them over and over again. At least we used to, all right? Back in the day when there was radio and you didn't have a choice, and back in the day in television when, you had to watch the commercials, all right? There were commercials. But it does happen on digital advertising. All the little ads that are there. You see them over and over again. So it's repetition and rehearsal. And just think about it. When you have to really remember something, right? This is what we're talking about, making sure that things can pop up. A lot of one way you'll do is you'll repeat it over and over again. That's what practice is all about, right? Repetition and rehearsal. Keep saying it over and over again, right? And you probably still know the words to most of the Pledge of Allegiance, the national anthem, God Bless America, all those songs, because they were important when you were a kid, and you probably sang them for many years in school. So again, just having your name out there, right, really helps, right? So if I said name that fast food restaurant, already prime McDonald's, I talked about it earlier, maybe Chick-fil-A pops up, but McDonald's has been seen, heard by so many people so many times that, it's going to win every time, right? Because of repetition and rehearsal. Okay, now, whose phone number is this? 8675309. So this was a song from the 80s, actually when I met my wife and stuff, and so it was a one-hit wonder, and it was by Tommy and the Two Tones. I won't play the whole
when
thing.
Amex offers helps you earn statement credits and extra rewards on qualifying purchases. Make the most of membership with offers like earning 10% back on your next.
Today, I'm going to discuss Achilles tendinopathy.
Oh, that's not what I want. Oh, did I mess that up? Anyway, here we go.
You give me something I can hold on to. I know you think I'm like the others before. Who saw your name and number on the wall? Daddy, I got your number. I need to make you mine. Daddy, don't change your number. 8675309.
Okay, that's enough down memory alley. But the reason I played it is not really related exactly to what we're talking about. But a number of years ago, when I was using a consumer behavior book, the person who wrote it, the professors, they used Tommy Two Tone and 8675309 as an example of this. So I had to put it in there. It was just like, it was so funny, I felt vindicated too for liking the song because I remember it was 8675309. Okay, so the more we see it over and over again, the more we say it, the more we rehearse it, the more we do it, the more we're going to believe it. And that's true when later on we talk about people's attitudes. And I'm just going to say that now, that the more we state a position, how we feel, our beliefs, right? Whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, you're for the war in Ukraine or against it, whatever it is, the more you state how you feel over and over again, you believe it even more. Right? It's not quite what we're talking about, but it's going to pop up. So just repetition, rehearsal has a huge impact, on our thinking and what we believe. All right, meaningful encoding. All right, so meaningful encoding is when we take something that's relatively new, all right, our brand, okay, and we try to associate it with something that's already important to people. Okay, so that we're kind of hitchhiking or trying to use the power of something that's already well known and trying to make a connection to an association with it. So when that pops up, we think of it. All right. So oftentimes it's done with important emotional and cultural, personal events, symbols, beliefs, music, all that kind of stuff, like holidays. Right? Companies try to associate their brands with holidays that are important rituals that we all do, like Thanksgiving and Christmas and Easter and whatever, Hanukkah, whatever holidays people, celebrate and have their brand associated with it. So it pops up, and obviously it's probably something that they would, likely, buy and consume, during those holidays. So an interesting kind of idea was, Microsoft a long time ago, when they introduced Windows 95, probably about when you were born, okay, they paid, at the time, a lot of money, an unheard sum of money to, get the right to use that song by the Rolling Stones. And then on the other hand, right, we see Apple a lot of times when they introduce, you can go to one of their songs, but when they introduce new products, they don't use, well-known artists or well-known songs and stuff. So just as an example, see if I can do this without screwing
Some
it up.
automakers believe less is more. Genesis isn't one of them, with features that the
catch a heffalump. Sit with me on a muddy clump. We'll sing a song of days gone by. Run along now, don't be glum. Get you gone now, have some fun. Don't be long for the end is nigh. Come along now. Run away from that humdrum. We'll go to a place that is safe from greed, anger and boredom. We'll dance and sing till the sundown and feast with abandon. We'll sleep when the morning comes and we'll rise by the sound of the bird song. Come along now. Run away from that humdrum. We'll sleep when the morning comes and we'll rise by the sound of the bird song.
Okay, so that obviously never became a really big song. The guy's an amazing artist. He does all the music, all the sounds, everything in that. But they picked somebody who is really different, right? And when we talk about later on about classical conditioning and other things, is debatable, right? The advantage to using something that is well known is that people like it. Right, and at this point, it probably has a positive association with people. All right. The hard part is that's that, popular thing for the Rolling Stones are using, the top celebrities like whoever those are, LeBron and Michael Jordan's still around, whoever they are, different influencers. People have a lot of different associations connected to them. So for that to be the new brand to be activated, it's difficult because its connection isn't as strong unless you have a tremendous amount of rehearsal or it's meaningful in some real important way. Where Apple, all right, if they can catch a song that they're pretty sure that people are going to like or recognize or it's going to catch their attention, that's the only thing associated with it. So they can play that song and people, oh, that's the Apple song, right? I mean, again, going back a few years when they came out with one of their new products, probably a phone or whatever, different model phone, but they used a group called Jet, which nobody had heard about, and they had a couple of really popular songs that they used, and they used other artists along the way, and probably more effective, I would think. Apple's probably more well liked than Windows and Microsoft at that point in time, also, but so forth. All right, so Q rating, a Q score and a Q rating is that just that there is a company that has their own proprietary means, has their own kind of secret way that they rate people, but your Q score is really how likable you are, how the public views you, and so forth. And interestingly, like LeBron James when he was young had a really low Q score for how great a basketball player he was. And then when he started doing things to help others and all that stuff, his Q score got quite high. So, it can change. And it can certainly go down, right? Who's had, I'm pretty sure the person that had the highest Q score ever is still Michael Jordan. He just had a kind of unique charisma about him. Nike did a great job. And some of the other advertisers, he has his own brand, a line of shoes through Nike. So, Michael Jordan, has it, whatever that it is. All right. So, dual coding. Okay, so this is, the next way, right? Our fourth way. Dual coding it's just that our brain, the way it processes information from our different senses, that they're separate. So, you can see a sign, you can smell a smell like cookies, all right? You can hear something, and they all have kind of different pathways, through your memory to those associations, so they can call things up. So it just says, the more you have visual and verbal cues that are different, the more likely people are going to remember your brand. The more likely they're going to see it and remember it. That's rehearsal and repetition. So it works really well, right? That's why a jingle is really important. Okay, and I'll show you the Kit Kat commercial and so forth. But back in the day, cigarette companies, Winston, they had a great jingle. Winston tastes good like a cigarette should. Nothing great about it. But then later on, when we talk a little bit more about comprehension, they would drop some of the words out and people would fill it in. But they just kept repeating it and repeating it. And so they had the picture of the sound, they had a song, they had the distinctive, packaging of their cigarettes and stuff, and the actors and actresses were promoting them. So they did a really good job. So Kit Kat, right? So, Kit Kat's changed. I think it's terrible, but obviously they have research that probably says they needed to. I don't understand, but this is an older Kit Kat ad.
Hyundai Santa Fe versus Subaru Outback.
All right, keep going.
Hyundai Santa Fe wins every time. Lisa.
Mmm.
Mmm.
Mm.
Okay, I'm not going to play that again. I'm not really sure why YouTube likes to cut my screen in half there for ads. Okay, but Kit Kat. You know it's a Kit Kat ad if you heard those sounds and somebody said, what is this sound? What company is it? What brand is it? You know it's Kit Kat, right? And then obviously you see the red, the big bright label, in their packaging and Kit Kat, and then you know the name. So they have multiple ways to activate their concept of their brand in people's memory. All right. So visual and auditory cues. That's why slogans. That's why people pay big money for songs and stuff like that. It's just, again, if you use somebody else's song, people may have other things that come to their pop-up and activation. They won't necessarily remember your brand. Okay, so memory, and we're almost done, and I appreciate you guys hanging in there. So we're really talking about 3 different levels or 3 different types of memory. So sensory memory, that's what our senses pull in, just like it sounds, through sight, sound, taste, etc. Okay, workbench memory, we'll get to in a minute, but that's pretty much where we do our processing. And then finally, long-term memory is what we store in our brain, and those are the associations we've already made, and then we're able to pull them out most of the time. Sometimes we can't. Right? That's our associative network. So, sensory memory. I'm going to show you an image. All right? Then I'm going to close it off. Then close your eyes and see how long you can see it for. Right? How long can you hold that in your, in your brain? Okay, and so typically it shouldn't be very long, right? We have tons of ability to see everything and retain that sensory information. We just can't hold it once it's gone. All right, okay, we can process tons of stuff, but after a couple of seconds, we really start to lose, our ability of what we saw to recall it accurately and everything. Okay, but that's what helps trigger, right? All right. That's what triggers activation for a lot of us, our own thoughts, but also what we see, and we can see a lot and process a lot of information right away. And that's important because we need to pull up the right information. Back in the day when we're, walking around with clubs and stuff, there's a lot of threats out there, and we have to find food and all that kind of stuff. And, we need to be able to process information quickly. All right, now workbench memory. So I'm going to show you something. Get a piece of paper. All right, you're going to write down what you see. All right. I'm going to show it to you quickly, and I'm going to take it away and do the best you can and write down what you saw. Ready? Are you ready? Oh, you can pause. Okay, I'll give you a countdown. 3, 2, 1. Okay, write down as many things as you can. So, you'll find that maybe you can write down 5, maybe only 3. Usually, you can't do more than 7. All right, that's kind of the norm. But we have our workbench memory, is really limited. Sensory memory, we can take it all in. Right, workbench memory, we have limited capacity. And so you can kind of think about it as, at least for me, I think we made computers, similar to our own brains. So the CPU does the processing. How much information it can process at one time is also a function of the RAM memory, okay, random access memory. And so if your computer's slow, one of the best ways to speed it up, if you can add more RAM memory, that will help it because it can process more information at one time. And so we're very limited in that. Really, no more than 7, 11 would be a ton. We can't process a lot of different concepts pieces of knowledge at one time. And you know what happens. Somebody's talking, you're trying to write down somebody's phone number because they can't send it to you, right? They don't have their phone with you, and then somebody else is talking to you. You can't process all that information, right? You have to say, shh, be quiet. Let me get his phone number, then I'll talk to you, right? And so we have a really limited ability, all right, and so forth. And that's the way we've developed, all right. Now we're gonna do it again, okay? Maybe you'll do better this time, okay? So you should have your piece of paper ready. All right, pause if you need to. I'm going to do the countdown. 3, 2, 1. So, that was pretty fast, I know. But you probably got most of it or a lot of it, right? Because it was just, right? Oops, let me go back. I'm sorry. I'm being a little... It was Happy Halloween and Merry Christmas. Right? So, if we counted letters, symbols, then you got a whole bunch. Right? You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 words. So, a good strategy, for that we use, intuitively is to chunk things together into units. All right? So, yeah, I probably can't do more than 5 or 6 or 7 words unless they're part of a phrase I know, words to a song I know, and so forth. If they're random words, it's going to be a little harder. But, compared to what I showed you first, all right, that, if you got 3 of them, that's good because there's no sense to it. There's no way to chunk it. It's random stuff. And a lot of it's things we don't use that often or we don't type that often and so forth. And who likes math? There's a plus symbol there and stuff. So, but when chunking things, we're able to get more. So that's one of the workarounds, one of the hacks we gotta have to be able to process information. And in that sense, you can say that schemas, all right, we can certainly think of more than 7 things at one time, but all those things are kind of one unit. So actually, schemas are a way that we chunk information, so we have easy access to all this information. So, and that's what, people who have a lot of expertise, can remember things. They have well-defined schemas that are logical for what they're asked to do, and they can access that information quickly and easily. Where if you, don't have as well-organized schema, you haven't, it hasn't been recalled, you haven't done as much repetition and rehearsal. There's no meaningful encoding. There's no dual coding going on. It's harder to get all that information just in your head, and you'll need to have it repeated or be able to read it and see it to be able to process that information. Okay. All right. So hey, this is my idea. So we have limited capacity. All right. Okay. And when it's it's like a bucket, right? If you're pouring water into the a bucket, you can fill it up, and then once it's full, you pour more water in. Some water's got to leave. And, I don't know if it's LIFO or FIFO, right? Last in, first out, or first in, first out. It's an accounting concept, right? But, you can't remember everything. So, rule of thumb, like I said before, 5 to 11 different concepts at a time. We can kind of process and hold on to without, losing it. All right, overcoming limited capacity, schema and scripts. I'm sorry, I jumped the gun. Chunking, putting things together. How do you remember stuff, right? Hey, I played a lot of sports. I follow a lot of sports. So if I have numbers I need to remember, I find people's jerseys numbers, right? 33 was Patrick Ewing. Okay, 12 for me could be Joe Namath or Tom Brady, right? You can put all those things together. I can't even pronounce this word. Mnemonics, right? Roy G. Biv, all right? Colors of the rainbow: red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet, right? So, we put things together, and so we can remember them, all right? So I just remembered a whole bunch of stuff with one thing, right? Because there's a really, it's a schema, right? pops right up. Roy G. Bibb, I know what that means. I don't have to spend any time really thinking about it, though I did hesitate a little bit to get started, make sure I got read right. And then finally, long-term memory, right? It's what we store, right? Just like, on the hard drive, the RAM memory is the bars that go in right by the processor, the hard drive or your USB thumb drive or whatever it is, OneDrive, Google Drive. That's all long-term memory, and so we store a whole bunch of stuff, right? And we have kind of our way to recall stuff is through all these associations that we have, all right? And then we get oftentimes they're activated by our sensory memory, our own thoughts. Yeah, as we do this, right, and we ring the gong and things expand, and we, sometimes we get things we don't want. We kind of say no, and we focus and try to push the direction in the way we want. So we can remember things for a long time as long as we have those associations. So forgetting really is, we lose those associations. It's like I knew that at one point. I can't remember what it is. I can't find something to pull it out. I know it, but I can't get it. It's like it's in that cabinet and I can't find it. Or I don't know what cabinet I put it in. It's somewhere in the house, but I'm not really sure. Right? When we can't remember our old passwords. When we didn't write them down, we don't have them on our phone or whatever. So we don't have a password manager, so I can't remember, and then we have to do a new password and so forth. So forgetting. So as a marketer, if you don't keep banging the drum about your brand and create, enable people to activate your concepts, they're going to forget. So when you think about, hey, where do you want to go to eat, and people are pulling it from their memory, all right, you might not get chosen. Okay, so that's it. All right, I appreciate you sticking with me.